Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again as always with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Mr. Coulson, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Ross. How you doing yourself?
You know I feel great.
Yeah?
You know I do.
Beautiful day outside.
If you're new to our show, welcome. We've been doing our show for a few years now. Every week on Monday and Wednesday, we talk about mental health, current events, sports, music, history, animals, and more right here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. You can also watch on youtube.com/Bolen Media. Most of the time, our conversations are covered in comedy. We try to bring humor to the conversation as much as we can. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. RBP 342 is brought to you by Honey. These days, it feels like online shopping is the only thing we do. That's where today's sponsor, Honey, comes in. It's the free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically applies the best one available at checkout. Honey is basically your online shopping best friend. It's free to use and installs in just 2 clicks. Here's how it works. You get Honey on your computer for free, 2 easy clicks, by going to joinhoney.com/Ross. Then, when you're checking out on one of its over 30,000 supported sites, Honey pops up, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. You wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons for that site, and if Honey finds working codes, it'll apply the best one to your card. It's easy. It saves you money. I've been using it since they became a sponsor last year at one point. There's literally no reason not to use Honey. It's free to use, installs in just 2 clicks. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/Ross. That's joinhoney.com/ROSS. It's time for some announcements and shouts. First, shouts to Jeff Bridges, legendary actor and icon who is beginning cancer treatment. The dude will be in our prayers. You can watch this show, not just listen, on youtube.com/Bolen Media if you want to see our shining faces. Here we are, waving at the camera. You can also watch us play video games with podcast listeners like yourself every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday on twitch.tv/BossRollin. That's Ross Bolen with the B and the R reversed. Twitch.tv/BossRollin. Coles and I play Warzone, Call of Duty, for those of you who are unfamiliar. We play Fall Guys, which is this little game where you're a bean and you run around on obstacle courses and it's hilarious. And then we play Among Us, which is a game where you're a little alien bean and you murder each other.
Ross is struggling with being washed in Fall Guys as he has had a very long drought.
Well, I did Crown last week. You just weren't there.
Besides one Crown,
which is on you.
I wasn't present.
Which is on you. The drought ended, Chris.
All I'm saying is that the fact that I wasn't there just proves the point that Ross can't perform under pressure. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Agree to disagree. We'll see you tonight, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central, as we're recording on Tuesdays now, and you may or may not hear this before that stream actually takes place. If you missed the Tuesday stream, guess what? We'll be back Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/BossRollin. And now it's time for our first segment. Insane headlines of the day. If you're familiar with our show, if you're not new here, you know. We like to do this segment called Insane Headlines of the Day, where we pull some of the most outrageous, sometimes horrifying, mostly hysterical headlines from the most recent news cycles.
Keep you informed. That's what it's all about here.
In 2020, we have no shortage of ridiculous things to discuss.
Team content.
That has remained true throughout the course of this past several days. Here's your first headline. New Yorker writer suspended for masturbating on Zoom call.
Classic.
Many of you have probably heard about this. Jeffrey Toobin. He was playing with his tube, wasn't he?
Oh, he's
his
very
flesh tube.
Very comfortable with his tube.
The New Yorker has suspended staff writer Jeffrey Toobin after he exposed himself on a Zoom call last week when staffers of the magazine and WNYC Radio were having a meeting, which we'll get to in a second. This is reported by Vice Motherboard on Monday. Again, exposed himself on a Zoom call. That's the first way it's sort of revealed to us, right? That's the story that broke. We were like, what the hell happened? We start to get more details. Sources said that when the groups returned from a break, that Toobin accidentally lowered his camera and people could see him touching his penis. He then left the call, moments later, joined back in, seemingly unaware of what had occurred. And then they continued what was a simulation. They were doing a simulation for, like, election coverage.
Election coverage got Jeffrey horny.
the least arousing thing you could possibly be discussing as a human being in 2020.
Yeah, many questions surrounding exactly what made this man H. I have to know. Because it can't be the election. It's 2020. Come on, man. What are you looking at?
This is a problem. Look, we've noticed. Everybody's noticed. The internet, always a creepy, horny place, right?
Yes.
In 2020, it's gotten worse.
Yes.
Everybody's locked in their homes. Straight dudes in particular don't seem to know how to handle this.
This man got Zoom and Omegle very confused.
They're masturbating everywhere. I had to ask Coles this off camera. That what is Omegle?
So do you know what chat roulette is?
But I'm obviously very familiar with chat roulette.
Yes. So like it's like when chat roulette discovered, hey man, we could do this with video instead of just a chat room. Let's try that. And then a bunch of like middle schoolers discovered
Omegle was just type
at first, and then it became video. So like you would basically enter a room, not a room, but like it would just randomly connect you with somebody else on the site, and you would be in a video call with each other where you could text each other and like face to face see each other.
Could you not speak to each other?
You could speak to each other as well. It was a
the
lot
text
of dicks,
just for like
to be
mute
honest.
people?
Yes. Some people would like keep their screen blank and type like M or F ? And then like
What a fucking terrible. You know how the idea of like social media, Facebook initially was like it was a pretty decent from just like a ground floor standpoint, like connecting people, right? Yeah. And obviously that's gone horribly awry, and social media is destroying society. But
this was like
this
right
is like
before.
that. Like
yeah.
What a good idea. We'll connect people. Video to video. Think about how brilliant that would sound if chat roulette had never occurred before and somebody came up with the idea right now. It's 2020. We're all locked away in our homes. This virus is destroying everything. Society is a mess. We have this insane election. Let's just give people the opportunity to connect with each other through video calls on the interwebs. Surely this will go well.
Yes. And then all of a sudden it was like half like middle school kids that had just discovered the internet right before social media came out, getting their first experience of like trying to talk to other people on the internet, and then the other half was just like middle-aged creeps with their dicks out. So
yeah, you just clicked around until you found a penis. That was it.
Well, no.
Another one.
Really...
Look at that one. That one's weird. Okay, let's click.
So here's what you'd do. You'd
either find another group of people looking for penises.
No,
or
nobody was looking for penis, Ross. Where are you getting this from? Why would you look for penis?
Called actual
you stay
facts.
away from penis.
It's called facts. Your generation must have missed this. We were looking for penis.
Wow.
That was what chat roulette was. What did you think was going to happen? Everybody knew if you got on chat roulette,
no,
you were going to see dong.
Is
that was
to find the diamond in the rough that wasn't the penis. That's why you get on chat roulette.
I know. What I'm telling you is chat roulette, for 5 minutes after it launched, was people talking to each other in different parts of the world.
Sure.
And then it was literally just penises. And then
Correct.
people looking for penises to laugh at them, point at them, and then be disgusted and click to the next thing.
You and I use chat roulette in very different ways, Ross. Very different ways. But at least
you didn't use chat roulette. You were on some weird thing called Omegle.
Same thing.
With all the Gen Z kids.
Same thing.
And staring into each other's eyes, typing on the keyboard for some reason.
Millennial friends are the ones with their dicks out on Omegle.
No. You said those were like middle-aged creeps. We were children when chat roulette came out. I was like 15 years old.
Okay, fair. But when I was on Omegle, you were like 25.
Look, Chris, I was on the internet searching for dong on chat roulette when you were still just a concept in your father's testicles.
I can accept that.
That's what we've been up to. Oh, why is the world a mess? Why is everything so fucked up? Well, look, because we spent 10 years trying to find flesh tubes on chat roulette.
Look where
it
that
wasn't
got
always
us.
like it is now, where you could just hop on a Zoom call with your colleagues, your coworkers, and you'd get some flesh tube from tubing.
No.
Like that wasn't the way it was in 2000s, like early 2000s.
You had to work for it.
You had to go find. You either had to hit chat roulette to go find some man meat, or you could just go to a Louis C.K. show and then see if you could get him to invite you back to to his hotel room afterwards. That was the only two ways.
Okay, fair. The first time that you ever looked up porn, what did you search? Do you remember? Well, I guess
I'm trying to remember how porn searches even worked back on Napster and like on all those crazy illegal download services we had.
Because I was literally too scared and just looked up sex. That's it.
Yeah, I can't really recall. Like, I remember all my versions of searches for like Britney Spears pictures and Christina Aguilera pictures when she went through the Xtina phase. I was really into that.
Okay, fair.
Actually, get dirty.
The first time I YouTube searched sexy when I was like 12. I remember that. And then I spent like an hour trying to figure out how to clear your YouTube search history. And I think I ended up just like deleting the entire server on that computer and re-downloading Google Chrome or something like that because I was so terrified.
I remember having that conversation. Hey, Ross, I'd hate to tell you this, but there's actually a way for me to see everything you've looked up on this computer. And I remember being like, nuh-uh. Here's a funny story that I can tell now that I'm an adult. I remember at one point, I was accused of searching for pornography on the family, what at the time was a Gateway PC. It weighed about 620 pounds, and it was the size of this table. And it had dial-up, and it would load like a fucking little game in like an hour and a half. And it wasn't me. At that point, I had already learned and figured out, like, yo, you obviously need to clear your searches. Obviously, don't be looking at porn on the family computer probably. Like, just print your Britney Spears out, put it in the binder, and get back to your room as quickly as possible. It wasn't me. And I remember, like, I cannot recall who took the fall, but it became apparent in a household with 3 men and then my poor mother that it was either my father or my little brother. And there was this conflict in the household, and I'm sure I can't wait to get the text messages from my parents telling me how I misremembered this. I'm fucking 30 years younger than you. Which one of us do you think misremembered this? I got all these angry texts from my mom after I accused my grandma of being a Pepsi person. She was like, Grandma never had Pepsi in the fridge. What are you even talking about? And I was like, I just said like, okay, Mom.
Sure she didn't.
Yeah, I just fucking made that up.
Yeah.
My dad was like, no.
Okay.
Look, maybe it was a short stint, but Grandma had Pepsi in the fucking refrigerator.
Ross opened the fridge like one time and labeled his grandmother a Pepsi person for the rest of her entire life.
They're like, she's a Diet Coke person. It was never Pepsi. Bullshit.
She was a closeted Pepsi
I'm going to
person.
get her on the show just to defend my honor. But the point is this. That wasn't me, her search for that pornography. It was either my dad or my brother. One of y'all needs to step up and take the fall. It's been 20 fucking years I've been carrying this.
I feel like by the time porn could load with dial-up, like, you're not horny anymore. Like, the feeling's kind of gone.
No,
also,
the
that
dial-up,
sound,
like, got you warmed up.
I'm just imagining
Like,
now,
you know-
I'm just imagining now somebody that's watched so much porn on dial-up internet that they hear that.
It's like Pavlov's dog, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The
They
boner
hear that.
is there before the dial-up's even done connecting. You've
They hear
already
the dial-up.
achieved
Yeah.
erection because of the dial-up.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh, what's coming next? They're just walking down the street in a movie like that's playing out of some bar, like has a dial-up tone. They're just like, whoo! Their boner like points in the direction of it. Bing!
It's a compass.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't take your penis out on the Zoom call with your whole company. Hey, maybe during a break, consider doing something else besides masturbatory activities. Perhaps save your crank time for private time, for alone time. That's what normal people do, Jeffrey. We don't crank on the Zoom call. Is it like the excitement of how stupid this is that partially gets these guys in this situation? Like, is it the sheer
maybe.
stupidity? Like, holy crap, there's such a good chance I could be caught. I'm so hot right now. Like, of course you could be caught. Your fucking webcam's on and you're on there with the whole company.
And also, like, I mean, like, why would you want to crank in your office space? Like, where you're about to sit to do work?
Look, people are asking a lot of questions about the why. And that part's not confusing to me. Clearly, Jeffrey has an attraction to somebody else that was on that Zoom call. Somebody on that Zoom call caused Jeffrey to feel arousal. Now, that is clearly not that person's fault. Jeffrey is the one with the issues. But I'm just saying, I don't think it was the politics that got him worked up. Or the dial-up sound. Jeffrey was H for someone else on that call. Who will it be? I don't know.
Imagine this like leads to some long 10-year affair scandal or something like that with one of his coworkers.
Oh, he's married, by the way, and
Yeah, I
has
know.
kids. He had
I
to
know.
apologize to them both
Yes.
for masturbating on a Zoom call with his company. Next headline.
Imagine having to explain to like your 14-year-old like daughter or something like that.
Look,
like,
Daddy got 2H. It's been a tough year. The Daddy had to reconnect to the internet. The dial-up kicked on, and it's automatic. Daddy couldn't help it. Next headline.
Auto-fucking-matic.
Dan Bilzerian's weed company lost $50 million last year.
Ross, that doesn't sound very good.
This is widely reported today. Forbes, in particular, talking about how in 2020, their company, which I believe is called Ignite.
It is.
Anybody who's familiar with Bilzerian or that follows him in any capacity on social media is familiar with Ignite because that's what he spends almost all of his time promoting. They make bikinis, which, got to tell you, Dan might have been part of the problem here, but we're going to get to that. But mostly weed and weed products. Cannabis. It's a cannabis company.
They expanded into electronic cigarettes as well.
What the fuck is an electronic cigarette?
Like a vape.
Do people call them e-cigs still?
Yeah.
Just because I associate cigarettes with tobacco.
Sure.
And vapes, that's the whole point, right? Question. Is the tobacco or is the nicotine in the vape you hit, do you even know this?
Yes, it's salt-based.
Okay. It's not derived from tobacco.
No.
Totally different ballgame.
Yes.
Crazy.
According to Ross.
Got to be careful with this.
As I've heard.
These dudes at the gas station the other day tried to pitch me on these nicotine pouches, some new one, and I was like, instead of the one I've been getting, I'm not going to plug either one of them because they're not paying me. But
Cut the check.
I ended up walking away with it, and then I looked at the cartridge, and it says nicotine derived from tobacco, and I was like, well, fuck you. I just skipped the whole point of me getting this. You horse's ass. Anyway, you don't... 50 million. Okay, let's get back to 2020 first. They've lost 16.3 million. They remain 37 million in debt, according to filings for 2020. They burned an eye-popping 67 million in 2019, according to Forbes. Quote, money that funded Bilzerian's ostentatious lifestyle of models, travel, and celebrity parties, according to a lawsuit filed by a former company president, end quote. Do you know how difficult it is to lose $50 million selling drugs?
Yeah.
Selling weed? Selling something that's a substance that people are like just willingly... I'm like running around the city trying to find it.
Yeah. And like he was in the good spots for it and had all the connections he could possibly want for it.
All the celebrity endorsements, all the stupid shit that other companies pay for. He had all that stuff built into his douchey life.
He branded a weed brand as a party brand. That alone should allow you to have a successful weed brand.
But I knew he was fucked. When like 20 minutes into the existence of Ignite, he's shown me, at this point, this is 2 years ago, let's say. I don't even follow Bilzerian anymore. But 2 years ago, let's say, I was still keeping up with him just because I was like, this dude's life is so crazy. He would spend like 15 slides on Instagram a day showing you him smoking wax out of different devices. And it was just like, okay, we get it, you sell weed. But then literally the next day, he was like, we've got to make bikinis. I mean, it goes without saying. I'm surrounded by hot women. We have to make bikinis. And the second that you diverge into merchandise, I know you don't know what you're doing. What an insane waste of time and money. I don't know how they managed to burn as much money as they did.
Well, if you're going to have models that are around you all the time, I mean, they got to be branded.
Spend money to make money, I get that. Well, are you watching The Vow by chance? Speaking of branding.
I'm not, no.
Oh, it's another good HBO doc. It's fucked up. Just got renewed for a second season. You don't usually hear that about documentaries. Renewed for a second season. But there's more.
I want to see. I'm on their website right now. I'm trying to see how much, like, if anything if they're just, like, doing ridiculous blowout sales or something like that.
On Ignite's website?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because I saw they were selling their e-cigs for, like, 60% off 2 weeks ago.
Like, how do you lose a $50 million plus amount, though? Like, a quarter costs, like, $120, man. Like, what were they doing?
Bro, I'll tell you what they were doing. Buying private jets and paying models to come hang out with Dan Bilzerian 24/7.
Well, then this just seems like classic American
Idiocracy?
Capitalism genius. You're already wealthy, so you create a company to just do dumb shit. It doesn't matter. You don't care. If it makes money, loses money, it doesn't matter. You just declare bankruptcy at some point. It all goes away. But it gives you the ability to write everything off. So then you just fucking
declare bankruptcy and you go back to nothing.
You just use them to get all the models in the weed that you want. I mean, a genius move. And then you just yell, "I declare bankruptcy," and everything goes away and it's fine.
I saw Bilzerian last week. Twitter clip went viral of him recreating the Fleetwood Mac Dreams dog face, meme that's been going around. The guy on the skateboard with the cranberry juice, but he recreated it with a jet ski in his pool and a buddy of his. But surprisingly, not a single girl in sight in that video. Not one. Not even a hint. No females. Have they left him? With the money gone, have the models gone.
No. You pull up his story right now.
You pull up his story right now. I don't know. Look it up. Look it up.
That's all he puts up.
Look it up. Look it up.
That's all he does is just pay a bunch of models to hang around.
according-
Still, it's like, look, if you ever listen to an interview with this guy, he openly cops to his lifestyle, which somehow makes it okay for a little while and then worse.
You mean in the sense where he's like accepts that like
He's
he's
like,
just a
look, man,
douchebag
this is
fuckboy?
what makes me happy. Like, this is the stuff. This is what I like to spend my money on. This is what I do. If you don't like it, fuck off. Otherwise, enjoy the show.
Bro, his last post with females was on August 31st, bro. August 31st.
Well, that brings me to my next point. 2020 may be the worst time period ever, perhaps, to be a luxury brand, and in his case, whatever that is, a luxury social media persona. You know what people don't want to see when they're sitting in their houses worried about money and the election and dying? You off on your fucking jet ski like railing models.
Bro, we don't, but I guarantee you there's a very large demographic out there of like wannabe Dan Blazarians that are like, they escape into this shit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think that is less attractive now than more than ever because of the circumstances, like society wide.
I think you're having too much faith in a lot of his fans and supporters. I think a lot of them
No, because this is the
genuinely
thing that's
see
impacted
this.
me. Like, I don't shop like I did last year. I
Sure.
don't look for fucking consumer goods like I did last year. I'm not like impressed by your insanely overindulgent lifestyle in 2020 because it's more disgusting than ever, and it's like more evident than ever that stuff like that is what got us here. Like, not giving a shit about real things and just focusing on fake stuff has put us in a terrible predicament as a country.
I completely agree with you. I like 100%. I agree with you.
So with guys like
argue,
him, he serves as like a reminder of like, oh, this is what we were focused on.
yes, but I argue that there are a large amount of people in this country that would still look at this now and like envy it even more because of the situation we're in and like want to try to be the next Dan Blazarian because we're in such a shithole of a time in our country.
Yeah, but it's like right now you feel more confident than you did 3 years ago that that's actually even possible.
I don't.
Most people don't even have a fucking job.
Yeah, I don't.
So
I 100%
like,
don't.
if I'm hitting the internet every day trying to find work, and then I'm hitting social media and seeing Blazarian like lighting a joint with an Instagram model's titty, that's upsetting to me. Eventually, I'm just the likes aren't coming anymore. That's all I'm saying.
I can accept that.
Hypothetically.
So this whole story starts to break from Tom Nash's YouTube review. Where Tom Nash is a YouTube financial analyst. And he did a very
Tell me he doesn't take his penis out in this review.
No, he doesn't. He does a very just a very comprehensive
Tom.
review on Dan Blazarian's finances.
Thank you, Tom.
So he delves into Ignite's financial records for quarter two, which coincidentally were released 2.5 months after the deadline. And he's quoted saying, "They finally released it in a way nobody could find them. It's not on their website, which is horrendous. What kind of public company doesn't put its own financials on its own website? That's unheard of." So they throw it in some website.
Is that what this guy's saying?
This is what Tom Nash says. Yes, the YouTube financial analyst that's looking over.
Do most publicly traded companies have their fucking financial statistics posted on their website?
You're supposed to release, like, if you're a publicly traded company, you're supposed to release your records publicly on your website. Most people.
Okay, Tom. Okay.
So they throw it in some website, which is really hard to find. However, I found it, and there's some really interesting stuff. Based on the financials, the company in 2 weeks is going to literally be out of cash. Not balance sheet insolvency, not theoretically accounting insolvency. They are out of cash in exactly 14 days.
Yeah, but again, the company is out of cash. Blazarian, for all we know, still has $300 million in the bank or whatever.
Could. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the company.
Yeah.
You can buy
can't argue
shares
with that.
of Ignite International Brands Limited on some stock market. The ticker is Bills F. What's
Really?
the F for?
Bills F?
BILZF. F's in chat.
Financial?
F's in chat. Those are your two insane headlines of the day. New Yorker writers exposing themselves and multiple millionaire trust fund playboys losing money selling pot. Somehow.
I wonder if you can find his current net worth.
Unbelievable. RBP 342 is also brought to you by Away. Away creates thoughtful products built the way modern travelers see the world. They started with the perfect suitcase. Now they offer a range of essentials, all of which will make your travels more seamless. It's the greatest luggage on earth. I've been rocking with Away for a long time. I love all their stuff. It's just incredibly well-designed luggage. It's the only thing I use when I travel at this point. I've got one of their like overnight bags. I've got one for that's like a hard case for when I go on an airplane, obviously. They've got wheels that don't stick, laundry bag for dirty clothes, a built-in lock that the TSA won't question. The way this suitcase is constructed really solves for a lot of the little headaches that you've learned to live with when you travel. Knowing that Away will fix or replace my suitcase ASAP if anything ever breaks or goes wrong means I never have to worry about my luggage. Everybody has a unique travel style, which is why Away offers a range of suitcases made of different materials like polycarbonate, aluminum, durable nylon. They've got a variety of colors, 2 carry-on sizes. So for whoever you are, whatever you need to pack, Away has luggage that works for how you travel. All of their suitcases are thoughtfully designed to last a lifetime with durable exteriors that can withstand even the roughest of baggage handlers. Every suitcase comes with an interior organization system that includes a built-in compression pad to help you pack more in, which is probably my favorite feature, and a hidden and removable laundry bag that separates your dirty clothes. If your suitcase doesn't have one of these, you're a stinky, disgusting human. And 4 360-degree spinning wheels that guarantee the smoothest roll, even through the most hectic of airports and stations. A TSA-approved combination lock that keeps your belongings safe, which everybody should have. And that is that. Get your suitcase and shop other travel essentials at visitawaytravel.com/Ross. That's, awaytravel.com/Ross. Erase the visit. Awaytravel.com/Ross. AWAY travel.com/ROSS. Do it today. Next segment.
Grab your light. This is Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Love it. Today's Stuff to Wikipedia when you're high is Josephine Baker. Bless you, sir.
Thank you.
Which, by the way, a woman that I was completely unfamiliar with that I became aware of, and so many of us did, as a result of one of the episodes of Lovecraft Country on HBO several weeks back. Somewhere in the middle of the season. It just ended this past Sunday, the season finale of Lovecraft Country on HBO, which, by the way, we are covering on our television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. We'll be recording immediately after we finish RBP today. Josephine Baker, I won't tell you how that comes into play in Lovecraft Country, as that would be spoilerish, and you can come listen to OCC if you'd like. Again, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles available wherever you listen to RBP. Josephine Baker was an American-born French entertainer, French resistance agent, Freemason, member of the LGBTQ community, and civil rights activist. That's a lot to pack into your first sentence on Wikipedia.
Yes, absolutely. Iconic.
Her career was centered primarily in Europe, mostly in her adopted France. She was the first black woman to star in a major motion picture, the 1927 silent film Siren of the Tropics, directed by Mario Naupas and Henri Etienne. That was close.
Have you ever seen a silent film?
Yeah, but like way back. I feel like I watched a couple of Charlie Chaplin movies when I was a little kid.
Sure.
By the way, that's another person that, like an American icon that it turns out was pretty messed up as an individual. I'll just let you Google Charlie Chaplin wives and do your own fun research there. It's completely separate from what we're talking about today. But yeah, man, I've seen a silent film.
I have not. I've not seen one. But this may be the first.
That was all they had when I was a kid.
Because I currently think I'm now in love with Josephine Baker.
Silent films. Yes, not a bad-looking woman at all.
One of the most beautiful-looking women I've ever seen, I would say. Like, in the could you imagine seeing this woman in 1927 in person? Like, looking back at old photos, like, she is gorgeous.
I just Googled hottest women in the 1920s. And now I'm wondering, is this a fetish that someone has out there? I'm sure it is.
Might be me now.
Like, are there people out there who can only look at, like, black and white 1920s actresses, which it turns out were much more sultry than you would imagine?
Maybe your former co-host, Michael Weiner, as he was only into black and white noir films.
French noir. I'm gonna say no, and here's why. Because there's only like 5 lines of respectable Google image results, sexy Google image results,
Sure.
before you get to the boring stuff. I'll put it that way. And that's how I judge whether or not a fully fledged fetish community has developed underneath a Google image search.
I mean, I guarantee there's one out there. Check Reddit. Reddit has a fetish for everything.
But yeah, I'm a little taken aback by. I figured the 20s would be less sexy than they were. Good for the 20s.
It was the time of the flappers.
Were they roaring?
The jazz age.
They were roaring.
They were roaring. We are not in the roaring 20s. Not currently.
What are they going to call this? The
silent.
Well, we're not
20s?
there. Don't we have to get to like 2021 before it's the 20s? Remember when we hit the year 2000 and we were like, how the fuck are we going to classify anything after this? We had the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then it was like,
the 2000s?
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous. See, you were too young to get this.
How does that sound ridiculous?
Because every 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s.
I guess I've never really thought about it that much. To me, it's always
it was bizarre. We were like, how are they going to do this moving forward?
Then it's
So
like the
what? Now we're in the
2010s?
2010s.
Well,
and
we
then
were in the 2010s.
We're still there, aren't we?
It's 2020.
Does that count as the 20s?
Is it a 10?
I don't know.
I don't think
Do
so.
you have to get to 1 before you start? When does one decade end and the next begin?
Same day.
Nobody knows.
Same day.
Nobody can say.
One ends on December 31st of 1999, and then the next starts on January 1st of 2000.
So were you alive for the Millennium?
Yes.
For the album?
Yeah, I was born in 99. Wait, Millennium? What's the album?
Oh, man.
Was it like
We've had such different lives, you and
musical artist?
Oh, yeah. It was an album Will Smith put out right before the Millennium.
Okay.
And it was called
The
Willennium.
Wow.
No,
original.
D. Drop the V. It's cleaner.
What?
Willennium.
When did I say the V?
V?
What did you say drop?
The V.
Millennium.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it. All I know is that you idiots thought all the computers were going to crash or something like that.
I was a small child playing flag football. But yeah, the parents were all freaked. All the financial institutions are going to go down. See, Chris, that's what I'm saying. People were freaking out about how to handle the 2000s because they didn't know what they were going to call them and they didn't know how computers were going to handle it.
Bro,
Nobody had ever done 4 numbers on a screen before. They'd only ever put 2. 78, 93, whatever. Suddenly you had to put 4 or double zeros. Everybody's freaking out. The bank accounts are all going to go wiped. It's going to be chaos in the streets. I remember clicking Midnight and Millennium jamming in the background right as I stiff-armed a small child into a tree. I've told that story on this show before. And nothing happened.
Nothing happened, yeah.
The world began to spin.
Yeah, well, it continued. It didn't begin. If it would have begun, we would have had like 1,000-mile-an-hour winds across the surface of the earth.
For the first time. I'm you know how there's flat Earth truthers?
Sure.
I'm a still Earth truther.
Sure. So
We are not spinning.
When Millennium was released, that's when the Earth started spinning or stopped spinning, just to be clear.
Not when Millennium was released, but the coinciding of the release of Millennium and then when the clock struck midnight.
The equilibrium.
Created this.
Absolutely. Regardless, how
Back
did we
to
get
Josephine
2000?
Baker. I don't know.
The 1920s, Roaring 20s,
The
back to
Roaring
Josephine
20s.
Baker.
It was sexier than I anticipated when I Googled hottest women in the 1920s, of which, by the way, I should note, 1, 2, these are all white women that pop up on Google Images, which is sad because
Which I would
none of them
argue-
are as good looking as Josephine Baker.
Nah, exactly.
She was born in St. Louis, Missouri. She renounced her U.S. citizenship and became a French national after her marriage to French industrialist Jean Lion. Dope French name.
Honestly, incredible.
Jean Lion.
Especially as a French industrialist, that's what you're looking for. And I would argue, well, it might be Lion, or it could be Leon.
Leon?
Either
Isn't
one.
that usually L-E-O with a thing on it?
Usually is, yes.
Leon.
But I don't know. French people, you'd really never know. You'd never know.
You do never know. She was
Well,
known
actually, you probably do know. We probably just don't know.
for aiding the French resistance during World War II, as we said up top, after which was obviously makes it even more interesting because she was American-born, renounced her citizenship, moved to France. She refused to perform for segregated audiences in the United States and is noted for her contributions to the civil rights movement. This is why she comes up in Lovecraft Country, deals with a lot of different historical racial issues in the Jim Crow era of the United States. In 1968, she was offered unofficial leadership in the movement in the United States. In the civil rights movement in the United States by Coretta Scott King. This is wild.
Yes.
Martin Luther King was assassinated. and Coretta Scott King came to Josephine Baker and essentially asked if she would take up the reins.
Yes.
And after apparently taking time to consider what that would mean for her family and her children, she declined. But I didn't even know there was an attempt to filling that slot, really, by the civil rights movement.
This is kind of just another one of those eye-opening things I feel like us as especially white people have had in the last couple of years, that we just don't know shit about Black American history, which is extremely sad. This is more even, I guess, Black world history, but like Josephine Baker was an icon at the time, and even now what she did for the African American community, like, she refused to accept the structures of American society and made a way in the world for herself, even from the time of her youth, using creative expression to escape what her mother wanted for her. Her mother was never accepting of her as a dancer. She still continued to do that because she felt called to it, and because of that, the refusal to accept things for how they are transcended throughout her life. What Ross was talking about of her involvement in World War II with the French, when the Germans invaded in 1939, Josephine used her power and her prestige in Europe at the time to talk to high-ranking Italian, Japanese, and German officials, gather troop information, and pass all of that back to the resistance and the Allies to be able to basically be a spy for the Allies.
Not basically. She was straight up recruited by French military intelligence and was like an honorary correspondent. You know what that reminds me of is like the chick in Inglourious Basterds.
That's what I was going to say.
The actress who inevitably gets caught. Was that inspired by her?
Josephine Baker.
I mean, it's hard to say, but that woman is white.
That's what I'm saying. Whitewashed. That's the thought process went through there.
Now I'm accusing Quentin Tarantino of whitewashing, which is just no. I don't want to argue with that guy.
Fair.
I just don't want to argue with him. He's just the least pleasant person to argue with of all time.
Yeah, I don't.
He just makes that fucking face at you, and you're just destroyed.
Yeah, and then he might make a movie about you where he like literally rips you in half or maims you or something like that.
Creates an alternate death for you where you're shot like 420 times,
lit on fire in a pool,
like he did for Hitler, which was, by the way, one of the funniest things I don't usually laugh at gratuitous violence. That was one of the funniest moments in an action movie that had a ton of comedy in it, but a lot of the comedy in it was comedy. That was such dark comedy. He was like, "No, we're just gonna do this. We're just gonna have them unload an entire clip into Hitler."
I feel like all of that movie was dark comedy. When was the comedy?
I mean, that was the like weirdest, like most out of like taking history and changing it to make it dark comedy.
Okay, fair.
Point blank. Like, but yeah, you're right. There was a ton of dark comedy.
Very fair. I mean, they did like beat the fuck out of some guy with a baseball bat
in hilarious fashion.
In a very hilarious fashion.
Yeah, like all the lines leading up to it and after it are hilarious.
The guy's name was the Bear Jew, and he comes out of a cave with a baseball bat looking like he's about to go hit homers for the Brooklyn Mets.
Then he commentates on it as if he's a baseball commentator as he goes yard on this Nazi's head.
Yeah, he Correa'd his head.
Usually you can't watch somebody get hit with a baseball bat and laugh. It's funny
when he's a Nazi.
Because they're Nazis.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's Hitler getting shot up point blank. I'm not trying to see just anybody get point blank 120 rounds to the chest, but when it's Hitler, it's hilarious.
Can't argue with that.
Anyway, I'm not trying to argue with Quentin Tarantino either.
I also can't argue with that.
Imagine being so tight, just being so fucking cool that you get recruited by like an intelligence agency of any kind. Never mind that it was French.
As a celebrity,
French.
As a celebrity. Like, that's a big deal. Like, I feel like in today's day and age, if a world war broke out in a very traditional sense, which could no longer happen, regardless, let's let that go. Like, name me one celebrity that the government would trust enough to try to get them to spy. None of them, bro.
It's funny because we elected
a celebrity.
We elected one to lead the free world.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But in the sense of like a very respected actor or actress or performer, not Donald Trump.
And this is the
yelling,
French...
"You're fired" at people in a reality TV show.
Also, let's just look at like the French government versus the American government. The American government wouldn't even like. There were places where she went in America that wouldn't even serve her coffee because of the color of her skin. And the French government is asking her to be an integral part of defeating an entire empire. That's fucked up. Good job, America. Drop the ball on that one over and over again.
Well, yeah, and many other things. But it happens.
That's why I said over and over again.
France
does it? Shouldn't.
France, not without its social issues as well.
Okay, very true. I saw they were having like gang wars in the streets in France last week.
Oh,
They have like a riot there like every week, or a strike. They have like a strike that shuts down the entire country like once a week. Just kind of part of things.
I'll say this: when they show the COVID coverage for the U.S., it's somehow not as depressing as when they show like Italy. Because I just expect what is it? Like, they show like a fucking Walmart parking lot in America, and they're like, look how it's devastated the country, and we're like, oh fuck, that's crazy. Walmart's empty here. Like, you have to wait outside before you can go in. In Italy, they show it, and it's like this historical, beautiful area
with nobody there.
No one outside.
Like the Vatican, and it's just completely empty.
And you're just like, because I don't want to be at Walmart, you know?
Yeah. I want to be at the
Vatican.
Vatican.
I want to be in Italy at some point. I've never gotten to go over there.
Me neither. We were talking about this yesterday.
Fucking sucks.
My dad was deployed to Italy at the end of the Cold War during no world conflict for basically 4 years of vacation. That's probably oversimplified. But one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
Right
yeah, he's
you fucker.
You ungrateful bastard.
You son of a
I
bitch.
raised you. No, but Lake Garda, Italy, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Very
Your
jealous of
entire
that.
goddamn life has been a vacation. I'm your dad now. I'm just going to keep yelling stuff he's yelling.
Thanks, Bubba. That's his name in the military, Bubba.
Oh, God. But, yeah, anyway, back to Josephine Baker again. She did so much that it's so easy to go off on tangents from her accomplishments. After the war, she received the Croix de Guerre. Is that right?
Nope.
Oh, and the Rosette de la Resistance. See, everybody knows how to say resistance because of Les Mis.
I've never seen Les Mis, so that's not why I know how to see. It's just not one of those things that interests me, bro.
French, but you never seen Les Mis.
I've heard like
I figured that was what French class was. They just show you Les Mis over and over.
Well, it wasn't out at the time, I don't think yet, but
It surely was.
when did it come out? Like 2020? Maybe it did. Maybe it was. Regardless.
Oh, you're talking about the latest movie.
Oh,
no,
was
that
that
was
an
definitely not out when you were in class, probably.
Yeah, isn't
right?
the latest movie like
That was
not
like 5
that
years
great?
ago. No.
Oh, it's really great?
Really good.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there were people who made fun of Russell Crowe for singing.
Oh, heard about that. Yeah.
I thought he was spectacular.
Okay.
People are weak. Everybody wants to pick on everything. That movie's great. Everything about that movie is great. It's incredibly well done. I highly recommend it. That's a great drunk movie.
Really?
Great drunk movie.
Like a sing along?
Yeah, there's great songs to sing along
Is there a
to.
karaoke version?
No, to my knowledge. I probably sat in my first house in Austin on my couch in my living room watching Les Mis drunk as shit like 120 times.
You said this was your movie of choice to down 2 bottles of Mayo, me too.
Yeah, I think Les Mis with Russell Crowe is the only person I'm going to give credit to out of the ensemble cast. Les Mis with Russell Crowe like got me through 2018. Like the only thing that got me through that year. I should have saved it for this year. Picked a bad year to quit drinking and sniffing glue. By the way, 3 years, October 27th.
Hey,
7 more
there.
days. If I don't slip in the next 7 days, we get a 3-year dry celebration.
Yay.
Everybody's like, what do you do with a 3-year dry celebration? It's the same thing I do pretty much every night.
Get hammered.
Just smoke and enjoy the knowing that I don't have to be hungover tomorrow, frankly. Sorry to anybody who's listening drunk right now.
Or hungover.
As you have just been reminded that you will be hungover tomorrow. Speaking of that, the other day it occurred to me, Josephine Baker, I swear to God we'll get back to you, no disrespect. Well, really, let's just close it out for her, and then I'll get back to what I was saying. So they asked her to take over as sort of the face of the civil rights movement in the United States. She declines. Again, that was Martin Luther King's widow, Coretta Scott King, who approached Baker in the Netherlands to ask if she would take her husband's place as leader of the civil rights movement, according to Wikipedia. This segment is called Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High. And again, she declined because she thought her kids were too young to lose their mother, this is a person who took so many stands on behalf of black Americans, on behalf of really just black people, not just Americans, and even she.
And women.
When approached with the weight of, that's how, I don't think, for white people, like when I was taught as a young boy about Martin Luther King's assassination, Don't get me wrong. Compared to a lot of the other shit they taught us, they actually taught us a semi-accurate version. What they didn't tell us or teach us, in my schools at least, was the fallout of that. What that really did to the civil rights movement in terms of, like, literally Coretta Scott King is in the damn Netherlands having to ask Josephine Baker if she can be, like, he was the guy.
And not only that, in America, like, growing up, it was taught, like, oh, yeah, he did all this really good things, and then he was assassinated. Oh, sad. And then, oh, civil rights was over, and he fixed it with his assassination. You know what I mean? It was, like, one of those things where, like...
you were basically taught that it was, like, Martin Luther King is the guy that fixed racial issues in America.
And then when he was assassinated,
his death,
that, like, closed
triggered,
the book.
Yes,
yeah.
and that was it. And it was all better. Like that.
And then we're good.
That's not directly what the books, our history books said.
But that was the
or
vibe
the manuals,
that we were presented.
But it was generally the message we were given was
Yes.
that, yes, he was assassinated, but like
sad.
didn't really get into the why of that necessarily.
No, not
and
at
then
all.
didn't get into the fallout of like what that did to the civil rights movement, and did give it to us in a way where it was sort of and this is the last thing in American history that we're going to talk about civil rights. And it was over from there.
And then we were fine and dandy after that. Yay.
Then they were like, now let's talk about the 70s and the hippies. And I was like, okay, seems like everything's good.
Yeah. Hippies and
Turns
weed
out-
and Woodstock. Nope. Things
Wasn't
aren't good.
actually accurate. Anyway, that's our stuff to Wikipedia when you're high for today. Josephine Baker. And I did want to say one other thing. Oh, go ahead.
I just
want
wanna
to
finish
Josephine
off-
Baker stats?
I was just going to
Facts.
finish off with some of the, like, just how iconic she was at
Hit
the
us.
time and what she did for women, especially black women, in the world at the time. Writing on the 110th anniversary of her birth, Vogue described her 1926 Danse Sauvage and her famous banana skirt brilliantly manipulated the white male imagination and radically redefined notions of race and gender, style, and performances in a way that continues to echo throughout fashion and music today, from Prada to Beyonce. To have that type of impact as a black woman in the 1920s is impressive beyond belief.
You know
That
what's
is
crazy?
world-defining fame.
You just said to Beyonce, and immediately I got the exact image of Beyonce
In
wearing the
2006?
Josephine Baker inspired. Yes. That was like a vibe for like a whole album. I want to say
it was the Radio City Music Hall Festival in 2006. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm doing some Google. Perhaps.
I think I saw
you're right.
earlier Radio City Music.
I think you're right. Something like that. Anyway.
2006 Beyonce performance banana.
Yeah, you can just Google Beyonce Josephine Baker and all the images of her 1926 costume compared to Beyonce's 2006 costume will pop up. And that's not even the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, it was her
So I think she's drawn from other Josephine Baker outfits as well. Because I've seen the picture of Josephine Baker in the like French 1920s, like Roaring 20s sparkly dress thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And B rocked that.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. And
I remember every Beyonce outfit she's ever worn.
Yeah. Huge. You're a bee. You're part of the beehive.
I'm part of the beehive.
You're in the beehive.
I was born in the beehive.
But I mean, this woman was like,
Each time.
like body positive, sexually promiscuous with her body, and not afraid to, like, she showed that a woman is so much
promiscuous the
beyond.
right word?
Probably not. I
I feel
apologize
like
if
that
that's.
frames it up in a negative light.
I just mean, yeah.
Maybe
I
not.
Don't want, I don't
Having
mean
or
this to be.
characterized by many transient sexual relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
But I mean, for the
I
20s,
don't know if
that's
she had many.
for the 20s, that's a very big deal. You know what I mean? Like, this was still a fairly conservative time in the world.
Yeah, she
And
popped off.
And for her to hop on stage, but then also be able to transcend that personality outside of your performance. I mean, that's what people strive to do in today's day and age. People didn't do that the same way back then. She was making a difference in the world like celebrities do now.
It's a super, super futuristic,
Concept.
like, run when you go through her, like, career. It sounds like something that would be from now.
Yes.
Not from the 1920s, which is what makes it so wild. And in particular, that she advocated for and represented for not just black people, but also the LGBTQ community.
Yes, absolutely.
She went ahead and doubled up. Josephine Baker. It's a great one. I wanted to say one thing before we move on to our next segment, because we were discussing hangovers earlier, and it occurred to me the other day, I guess you can count this as a mental health half minute, and we've made this comparison before. It's not one that's not been made. It's not something like we invented or anything like that, I'm sure. But depression, a lot of the time for me, is like a hangover because it's in. I wake up with it, and that's the hardest point of time for the day for me, because I wake up with this darkness. Like when you wake up with a hangover, you're not you. You're not 100%. You're not ready to go rock. You feel like crap. You need food. You need water. Lots of water. You need time. And shittily, I cut alcohol out. And then I got depression for the first time. And I have like a weird or different hangover sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And it blows my mind. Chris, obviously experiencing depression from time to time yourself and having battled it. Do you find that's the case, that it's most difficult in the morning?
Oh, absolutely. That first, like...
'Cause it keeps you from...
Well, this morning even, like, I got good sleep last night, and I mean, even this morning I was kind of feeling groggy with the sleepy eyes and stuff like that. And when you wake up with depression first thing in the morning, you have to start attacking it very, very quickly before it can like really set in. For me this morning, I got up around, I was supposed to be at Ross's at 9:30. I got up around 8:30, and I felt the grogginess of a depressive episode coming on. And so I made sure to do all my like morning checklist to make sure I was prepared. Like I packed my clothes correctly and neatly for the next, because on Tuesday nights when we stream, I stay at Ross's house. So I made sure to get everything together that I need to be very comfortable at Ross's house.
He's got his own Lisa bed.
I do. I cleaned up my room. I made my bed. I gave myself a massage with our new Theragun thing. We'll
It's
get
the
to
hybrid.
that another. Yeah, it's insane.
He's
Oh,
got
it's
his
the
own
hybrid.
Theragun. He can't
Yeah.
use mine.
Yeah, he can't. Ross has banned me from
No,
his
he can't
Theragun.
touch it. Or don't look at it.
He keeps it framed now. And then, like, I took my shower. I did my whole skincare routine. Brushed my teeth for the full 2 minutes. Made sure to really take care of myself in the morning. Check every box that I could possibly check, so that when I was coming over to your house, yeah, thanks to Quip, shouts. They gave me the new all black one. It's beautiful, very sexy.
Look at us talking serious stuff and working in sponsors.
But like those, like when I wake up with that feeling, it's all about, for me, attacking that very early and very efficiently. And then as I was walking out to my car, I did like a mindfulness practice. I thought about everything that I had thought through that morning, and I realized that at the beginning of the morning, I immediately woke up and was thinking about a certain thing that had not happened yet. And I think that's what like triggered my morning depressive episode. And I like went through my head and thought through all the thoughts I had thought thus far, and basically forgave myself for the negative self-talk to be able to continue being positive throughout the day, and then let go of those future fantasies and reminded myself to live in the present moment. And then from then on, I mean, it's been a pretty productive day. But I mean, when you wake up at that depression first, you have to fight it first.
Which is that concept for a lot of people, I think is almost contradictory, because you almost have to separate it. Like you almost have to treat yourself as like two brains. The side of you that has depression and the side of you that is aware of it and has to handle it. And the side of you that has to handle it has to carry you through that more. Because, like, obviously, when you're depressed and you're suffering in the morning, you don't want to get up and go get a workout in or do the things you're supposed to do that you know will help you get the 3 endorphins to get you through your day. Like, you don't want to do that stuff. You have to, like, separate almost and just go. And that, like, because as Chris said, the more time you take to sort of kick into your day, the more of an opportunity depression has to sort of bring you down and keep you from being productive and get you stuck in that lower place where you don't have the happiness that you want, where you don't have joy in your heart or in your brain or whatever the fuck you want to call it, your soul. Like that part of you is missing if you don't conquer depression early on in the day. You can get it later, don't get me wrong. Like I've had days where I've recovered in the afternoon by like some miracle of something just happened or we got a workout in the afternoon or something where I was able to like recover. But for the most part, you're right. Like if I don't get it on straight up in the morning, it's almost like when you wake up with a hangover. You can either fucking lay there like a slug and you're going to continue to feel like shit, or you can get up, get yourself food, get yourself water, get yourself outside, maybe sweat a little bit, go to the sauna, do the things that call one of those crazy IV companies to come pump you full of whatever the fuck they have in there. To fix yourself up, to try to fix yourself.
Take a liquid IV.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, we're like on, that was like 4 now?
We're on fire.
You got to do something.
Yeah.
And so with depression, the same thing. And just reminded me how funny that was, because the thought occurred to me like literally earlier this week. I woke up like, I don't want to say it was Sunday morning or Monday morning. So either yesterday morning or the morning before that. And I was just like, fuck. Like, I didn't even do anything. Like, I went to bed early. Like,
Yeah.
what the shit, man?
Those are the
And-
hardest days, too, when you check all the boxes and you still feel depressed. And let me say that, too. Sometimes you can attack it as hard as you want early in the morning. You can check every box that you have, and it's just going to be one of those days.
It's the same with anxiety. It's the same with, generally life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can be as prepared as you possibly could be, and it's just going to smack you.
Yeah. And to go off what you were saying a little bit earlier about recovering later on in the day, I find with anxiety, it's harder for me to recover late in the day because my anxiety tells me this day is a loss. Let's just reset tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you sort of already chalk it up as an L and start to look forward to getting away from the current situation you're in, which is obviously counterproductive. I mean, It's just like you literally, then you do burn a day, which I've burned, I don't know, probably hundreds of days over the course of the last decade. Combined, really, really heavily stacked towards the front of that decade, that I accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
And allowed myself to be consumed by, really it was a combination of hangovers and mental health issues, but it specifically anxiety, panic disorder, and then a lot of hangovers. Like, I burned so many days of my life that in hindsight, obviously, were for a reason, so that I could sit here and say that into this microphone so that somebody else won't do that, hopefully. But it's a shame when I look back at it, because it was just like, they say youth is wasted on the young. Right?
Yeah.
And that always sounds so stupid, but you kind of get it even when you're young. You're like, okay, I could see how, like, because then you get older and you get money, and it's like, what do you do with this money? Your old ass can't even fucking do anything. Here, just have some kids and pay for them instead.
Yeah.
Like, somebody who's a parent just spit their coffee all over their steering wheel. But yeah, it's just like that really is true. It's not that it's wasted on the young. It's that when you're young, you don't have the wisdom you need to be able to fucking take advantage of it. And then you get that wisdom later and you're like, shit, I wish I was 20 so I could go back and not burn 20 days of the year laying in bed.
Especially in today's day and age, like, it's very easy to get in the mindset where it's like, oh, well, I'm watching Netflix, like, I'm being entertained right now, technically. Like, you can get comfortable in that setting.
You know how many times I've convinced myself that watching a TV show is the exact fucking same thing as reading a book? Like, I've been laying there watching TV and just been like, bro, it's fine. It's the same. Tell me how it's different. Convince me a hot dog is not a sandwich or whatever. Because it's a story and it's going into my brain. And then I read, I think I'm on page 62 of The Count of Monte Cristo now. And I started in, what was that, February?
2010?
Was that last year? Anyway, page 62, I read some of a book. I've read 62 pages of a book in 2020. And I remember, on page, 8, I was like, this is way different than watching TV.
You don't realize, that's one thing that when I don't write for a while, and then I go and read a very good book, and I look at how descriptive the books are, I'm like, wow, I am terrible at writing.
By the way,
you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you get back
it's
to
the main
seeing,
reason I don't read, Chris, is I don't want to be reminded of my own stupidity.
You get back to seeing, what great artists can do with words, and you're like, I forgot words could even do this.
This happens with me when I see anyone else's handwriting, too. I go, wow. You can write legibly. That is fucking wild. I'll say this, since we got the whiteboard, we've been doing business at Bolen Media HQ. I don't know if y'all know this about us, but we do this. We do business. We got a whiteboard, and the first day we wrote our plans on it for the day or the week or whatever, all the notes we wanted to put on there, and I remember I could read 3 of the words the next day. I was like, okay. I've improved, Chris. I wrote words yesterday that I could read almost every letter clearly on that whiteboard.
You have improved. They say
stuff.
Messy handwriting is a sign of a brain moving too quickly to connect with the hand to write legibly.
Yeah, I also just am a shaky person.
I'm not a good whiteboard writer.
And I write like I'm left-handed, but I'm right-handed.
Oh.
Because of my dad. I just blame him. I don't actually know if that's actually why. He's left-handed. I just assume he poisoned me with his left-handed brain somehow. But I write like this. You know how lefties have to write to avoid the smudge or whatever? So I write like I'm doing that, but I don't know. It's almost definitely part of the reason that I think I'm developing pre-elderly carpal tunnel in every possible joint in my hands.
I got
and
arthritis.
Wrist. Oh, your fingers hurt? Well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt?
What movie is that from?
Good. Next segment. Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
Next segment. I hate sports and fantasy football and all of you. So I obviously don't hate all of you, but I do hate sports, and I really hate fantasy football, and we're going to talk some about why today. The sports world has not been kind to me over the past several weeks at all. I would argue it's been the worst period of time in my lifetime for sports, which, might I remind you, have absolutely no real significance when push comes to shove. Now, I also will say I have a very newfound respect for sports in what they do to disconnect people from the harshness of reality. When we didn't have anything to watch, man, sports-wise, I'm not talking about TV shows, most of which are heavy that I watch. I don't watch a lot of comedies. I watch a lot of heavy TV.
Me too.
Admittedly. And I like that shit. But when you don't have sports there to even it out so you can just sit there and watch the dudes with the balls try to score on each other so that your brain can just shut the fuck off and you can enjoy some sports, holy shit, it turns out that is like a massive thing for me in my mental health and my ability to, because like I said the other day, man, I can't shut it off.
So then if it's a great thing for your mental health, I would retract that statement. So what you
that's
said.
fair. But I think generally people take sports entirely too seriously.
I would agree.
I am one of these people.
Yes.
And I will prove that right now. The Houston Rockets general manager, who was a guest on this show at one point, who was the GM for what, like 16 freaking years or something insane like that. I don't know the exact number. Daryl Morey left the team since we last recorded. He wasn't fired, okay? Didn't have anything to do with China. He just fucking left because he decided this was no longer the place for him. Now, this was devastating to me because Daryl Morey is almost single-handedly responsible for my being as big of a Rockets fan as I am, and as anybody who knows me can tell you, that is far and away the team I'm the biggest fan of, obsessively so. During what most people would have considered the more boring years of the franchise when, like, Luis Scola was our best player, I had NBA League Pass and watched every single game. And the main reason for that was Daryl Morey. Because Daryl had a different approach to basketball in a way that made it interesting and that could be explained in terms of the value of a player, the analytics, the numbers, to, ironically, a non-math person that made sense to me. And it was interesting to watch a guy take a different approach, get criticized for it the entire time, and attempt to build something special. And what I found very early was that he was going to be a great GM for us, if not for any other reason than this, because he always made the Rockets matter. The second he brought in Yao Ming, I was like, oh my, it couldn't have been a bigger, I don't even know if he was the one who brought him in or if actually that was Carroll before him, if his name is hitting correctly. But he combined McGrady and Yao for what was one of the more, I mean, it was the most exciting era in Houston sports for me as an old enough person to enjoy it, right? 94, 95, 93, 94 Rockets not included. I was alive in the sense that I was breathing. But I was like 7, man. Couldn't fully appreciate a championship at 7 fucking years old.
Yeah, it was like when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl in 2004, and I was like 5.
Like, it's
like,
fun.
I remember
I'm
it.
excited about it, and it's
I
awesome.
I wasn't even at that point. Like, I was watching Tom and Jerry upstairs, but it was my first memory of football.
Yeah, I was mostly stoked because my dad was stoked.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I was stoked for
Like, my
him.
parents were downstairs, had a TV set
Sure.
up in the living room exclusively for the game. Yeah, 100%.
And Daryl made sure the Rockets always mattered. He brought stars here the whole time. He kept us in the playoffs. Literally, we have the longest playoff run in the NBA.
Some have called him Elon Musk, roping stars into Houston.
James Harden, Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. He always gave me a reason to watch. He always kept it interesting. The team always made the playoffs. We've never had to fucking tank. Everybody complained every offseason, we don't have any picks. How are we going to do it? Every year we were fine. He was the only GM who took a successful run at the Golden State Warriors that were arguably one of the best teams in the history of basketball. It turns out losing to the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis and the squad was not nearly as embarrassing as we thought it was. They just ended up rolling everyone and winning the championship. Daryl, not just that though, as a leader of the community and as like, he was always nice. He did interviews with everybody. He came on this fucking show, for God's sake. He like treated the players well, the owners well. He tried to be up front with everybody. He was the best I've seen do it. And in terms of winning percentage, was secondary only to the San Antonio Spurs.
Really?
During his run. Only the Spurs, during Daryl Morey's run, had a higher winning percentage than the Rockets.
That is extremely impressive.
Especially when you consider the Spurs probably the most well-run organization in sports up until the obvious passing of Kawhi Leonard, as I'll put it. They never didn't make the playoffs. They never didn't compete for a championship. The Spurs were always there, and it was hell. And Daryl Morey took us to that level where we just mattered. It was great. I mean, I'm obviously sad for the team and the franchise, and I don't feel very high on where our ownership is or the plans moving forward. I think we might hire Sam Cassell or Jeff Van Gundy or just promote one of our assistants, Lucas, which I would be okay with, actually. I don't want Sam Cassell. I don't know if JVG is the move. Either give me a proven championship caliber coach or give me somebody who's never done it before. I don't want an in-between anymore. We just did back-to-back coaches who have all been great. That'll all be, well, maybe not Mikhail, but Adelman and JVG and D'Antoni should all be Hall of Fame coaches.
Sure.
They're all great. None of them has a ring.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think and make sure Adelman doesn't. I'm pretty positive none of them has a ring. And I want somebody who's either got one or somebody who's never tried before, please.
Yeah. Maybe
that makes sense to me.
Somebody like Air Bud?
Air Bud would be a great coach,
Yeah.
probably. I don't know if he's got to be dead.
There's more. He had puppies and stuff. There's 30 sequels. I'm sure
Just
he's
throw
got a
me
ring.
The junior.
He's
Yeah,
definitely got a ring.
Air Bud Jr. But
Didn't he ring? I think he won a ring with Mike.
no, they
Think
never
so.
played together.
Maybe.
They never played together.
Maybe against each other.
You're thinking of Bugs.
I'm thinking about
You're
the
thinking of
Looney
Bugs
Tunes.
Bunny.
That's
You're thinking
what I
of
was
Bugs
thinking
Bunny.
Yeah. He'd be a good one too. Apparently, the new Space Jam is going to fucking suck.
Well, that was a no-brainer, but I did see the plot leaked or something.
The
I've
plot did
never
leak.
felt less tempted to click on a headline in my entire life than the plot of Space Jam 2 leaked and it's trash. Oh, wow. But also, I will probably still watch it
Ross,
because it's LeBron.
I clicked on that headline.
I'm just saying personally, it wasn't for me.
It was for me.
Personally,
And
it
it was
wasn't for me.
terrible.
Daryl Morey was for me, though. And the guy will always be, I'm serious, a genuine hero of mine.
You should get him on here for some closure.
A lot of people have said that. They want an exit interview, and I don't know if he'll do it. I'll holler at him, but I'm just saying, it seems to me that after everything that went on this year,
He's ready to
between
move on.
China, between what I'm sure is a very fun task of dealing with Tillman Fertitta as your job every day, and then having to face the backlash and know that the NBA has lost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars as a result of something that you did that you think is right, but you're still dealing with the bet. Fuck all that, dude. I don't know that I would want to be around that anymore. I get it. And he's got 2 kids, and I think they're both in college, but not at college. They're both home from college because of COVID. Spend time with your family and grow out the fucking terrible beard you have, and enough of these people. I get that. There's a lot of people who want him to be the GM of the Texans now, but regardless, Daryl Morey was kind enough to give us, 30 minutes of his time back on one of the episodes of this show that I'll Google really quickly. He was an incredible representative for Houston the entire time he was there. I couldn't have asked for a better GM to take me into adulthood as a sports fan. 148th episode, RBP 148, to hear Daryl Morey on the Ross Bolen Podcast. And I'll move on to the other reason that I hate sports. Last time we spoke on sports, at least, the Astros had simply dropped Game 1 to the Tampa Bay Rays in the National League Championship Series. Since then, they went on to go down 3-0, 0-3, if you will, and then accomplish what no other team in history has, other than the Boston Red Sox, famously, to come back from 3-0 and force a Game 7. Only the second team in history to ever do that. And this is down Justin Verlander. This is down Osuna. This is down a couple other players. Very impressive. Took it to Game 7 all the way there and then just couldn't quite get the job done. The Rays, obviously a very good team. Super excited to see them move on. In particular, a Rosarina, who is a fucking freak, and I did not know was a rookie, and oh my God, that guy is terrifying, and I feel terrible for when he eventually bolts from Tampa Bay to go play somewhere that is more attractive, which most of our players will probably be doing in this offseason. The Astros team, as I know it, could look very different next year. The core group is finally going to break up, most likely. George Springer is going to get paid $1 billion. After that, we have like level 3 arbitration with Carlos Correa. We have to pay him in the year after that, I think. I don't know how they keep any of these dudes on this team or keep more than one or two of them. I don't know if Crane is going to spin like crazy anymore. I don't care what ex-general manager Jeff Luhnow has to say about what happened with the sign cheating scandal in 2020 after the World Series has ended. He's still out there now he's doing interviews trying to throw everybody else under the bus and say he didn't know. What a fucking clown, Jeff. Jeff, go manage in some other arena. It's over. You're done with baseball, bruh. He was like, well, I think I'd consider coming back. Jeff, nobody wants you to be their GM. You're a marmy fuck. Is it marmy or smarmy?
I have no idea what either of those mean.
It means, I'm going to tell you. Ingratiating and wheedling, okay, now I have to Google both those words, in a way that is perceived as insincere or excessive. I just mean he's a general clown. Not a fan of Jeff Luhnow.
He's smarmy.
Anyway, Astros out. And then, on Sunday, the Texans slipped to, 1-5? Have we won a game?
Yeah, you won one.
Yeah, 1-5.
But you have doubled your average points since Bill O'Brien has left.
Oh, that's huge.
Game.
Everybody's really excited about that. I'll say this.
I would be excited about that. I don't know what the sarcastic tone was there for, but that's impressive.
We're still losing every game.
Stay positive, Ross.
You know who else sucks? My fantasy team. As I am now, also 1-5.
Ross, have you ever
after starting 0-5 last year?
Have you ever considered you might just suck at fantasy?
No.
Okay. It might be time.
I will come out and say this flat out to your face. I don't think you can suck at fantasy.
That's what somebody that sucks at fantasy would say.
No, you suck at fantasy is what somebody whose team is doing well in fantasy this year says.
I came in second place 2 years ago.
I won 2
last
years ago.
year, and I'm in second place right now. That's dominance. That's dynastic dominance.
But you realize that's insane. You aren't doing anything
except picking great players.
But you admit that you can pick great players and lose every week, right?
So that's like saying Daryl Morey did nothing.
No, you look at your points scored though. Like if I have the 4th most points scored in the league and I'm 1-5,
you're just not winning your matchups. I mean, you're just not setting a good enough lineup.
You're just getting. It's like that's the same thing I'm saying. Texans scoring 35 points a game, but they're losing every game.
Okay, I get what you're coming.
They're
from.
not happy.
I see
I'm
what you're
not
saying.
happy.
I see what
Neither
you're
of us is doing anything.
I see what you're saying. 100%.
But do they suck?
Yes. Yeah.
Do I suck?
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Does that make a difference? No. No, this is miserable. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of watching what is my better team lose every single week. You want to know how I lost this week? I won it last night with like a 30 fucking point lead. Nobody cares. I know the individual circumstances don't matter. I know nobody cares. I get that. But you're going to listen anyway because this is my show and I have a microphone. I go into last night up 20 fucking points, and this clown gets 28.4 points out of Kenyon Drake, 16 points out of the Arizona defense, and 20.9 points out of Amari Cooper in the same goddamn 3-hour period. Smoked my dick right off. And here I am at 1-5. We should have just kept doing the speeches. The fucking week I stopped doing the speeches, I lost all my momentum. I won one game. One game. Any other NFL news? Tampa's having a moment. Tampa in the World Series. Tampa won the Stanley Cup. Tampa got Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, who are now doing Tom and Rob things again. They beat the shit out of the Packers. Tampa enjoying the light that I saw Houston enjoying in what was supposed to be the golden age of Houston sports. Tampa Bay. I don't even know where that is on a map. What part of Florida is Tampa Bay in?
I think the left side.
Florida's just
handle,
such a fucking piece of shit state in terms of its shape. It's just poo-shaped. In Texas, it's like you're at the top in the Panhandle or the fucking bottom or the left or the right. What is it in Florida?
That's like 5 different directions.
It's just a shit. It's a shit. There's no shape.
You have a Panhandle there?
Florida?
Yes.
It's called the Panhandle? They have a Florida Panhandle?
Yes.
Panhandle. It is, hold on. It is a region in Florida. The northwestern part of the state.
Everybody's clapping right now.
It's roughly 200 miles of long, 50 to 100 miles wide, between Alabama and Georgia.
No respect for the Florida No respect for the Florida Panhandle from Ross.
None. I thought we were the only state with a panhandle. I had no idea.
Our producer, Myrriah, is now typing notes on our rundown saying Tampa is in southwest Florida. Thank you, Myrriah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I have no clue where that is. All the way down and then west? Like, it just seems like it's a big poo.
Sure.
And then there's where do you go on the poo map?
We can accept that. I can accept that.
Where do you go?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. But
Nobody
they're having
knows.
a moment, sports-wise,
Tampa having a moment
for the first
sports-wise.
time maybe ever.
Here's what I'll say, Tampa fans.
Tampa Bay.
Don't let this trick you into believing that sports are about joy. Don't let this year trick you into believing that there's happiness to be had here.
How hilarious would it be if, like, the Rays win and then, like, the Bucks manage to win a Super Bowl or something like that, and then, like, Brady retires next year and they just go back to a perennially shit program?
Has a city ever had 3 champs? It has 3 ships at the same time in the harbor.
I bet Boston probably has.
Fucking Northeast.
L.A. might have had at 1.2. Lakers, no, definitely not. Not at least for a long time. Celtics,
Red Sox,
Patriots,
maybe
even Bruins. They might have gone 4 for 4 at one point.
Oh, the Northeast. Just so spoiled. So
Yeah.
spoiled. Sports suck. Fantasy football sucks. But you know what can make all of the suck better? Putting money on it. And between the NFL, college ball, and the MLB playoffs, there's no shortage of games to watch and bet on at MyBookie.ag, our sports betting sponsor. Tampa had a Stanley Cup and a Super Bowl in 2003, according to producer Myrriah Gossett, by the way. So they have had a moment before. It was just 17 freaking years ago.
So in 2011, the Bruins, the Patriots, the Celtics, and the Red Sox all won a championship.
Yeah, and forever fuck Boston as a result. Like, all y'all can suck one. That is insane. You're so spoiled. It's completely out of control. Winning a championship to y'all is like having a birthday. The rest of us get one every year, and it's not a big deal.
Oh, that was a lot. That wasn't an accurate. It wasn't all in the same year, but it's the only city to have had all 4 teams win a championship in the same decade. I apologize.
Well, that I could have probably guessed at. Those bastards. They just don't stop. Anyway, bet on all the sports you want at MyBookie.ag. If you're the type of guy who likes to back the big favorites, consider pulling a couple into a parlay. For a much bigger payout, they give you a chance to turn ordinary bets into a real moneymaker with parlays. Don't forget underdogs. Obviously, underdogs have a lot more value. It's the year of the comeback. It might be the year of the underdog in sports, where home field advantages have mostly been decimated, ceased to exist. Get after those underdogs. Game spreads, championship futures, player prop bets. They got everything you need, all the action you could possibly want. Start turning your sports knowledge into actual cash in your wallet. Sign up at MyBookie.ag. When you do, use the code RBP to claim a deposit match, dollar for dollar, all the way up to $1,000. 100% deposit bonus. Stipulations apply when you use the code RBP at sign up. It's a bonus designed to give you a little help and a head start on your winning season. And obviously, right now, we've got stacked UFC cards. We've got all of the presidential prop bets your heart could possibly desire, including ones for this Thursday's debate, which are hysterical, and I will be participating in those, obviously. All the major sports as well, and more madness on MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code RBP. Sign up today to begin your winning season. Before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. First and foremost, you've been saddled with 3 legal obligations as a result of having listened to this entire podcast, the first of which is that you must rate and review. 5 stars, 2, 3 sentences about why you love the show. Boom, check that box, and you can move on to your next legal obligation, number 2, which is to share the show with one person this week. It could be a friend. It could be a family member. It could be a coworker. It could be your neighbor. It could be my mailman. What's his name? What do we call him? Gary. Could be Mailman Gary. Share the show with one person that you think would benefit from the existence of the Ross Bolen Podcast, a comedy, mental health, animals, sports, news, history, music, and more show. Share the show with one person this week, one person next week, one person every week until the week you die. Check that box and move on to number 3, your third and final legal obligation, which in this case is to support our sponsors who support us and keep us in business. Today's Honey. Go to joinhoney.com/Ross. Of course, Away Travel. Go to awaytravel.com/Ross as well. And then MyBookie.ag. Use the code RBP on sign up. Those are your 3 for today, and those are your 3 legal obligations. Fulfill them all. I will call off the dogs. We won't have to see each other in court. We can all live long and prosper. If you're asking yourself, are these guys on social media? Can I follow them anywhere and like their posts? You can on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, where every day we fill up our story with photos and videos sent in by you, our listenership that Chris and I mostly obtain through Snapchat. Now, if you're confused, you send us the Snapchats. We take the Snapchats, we put them on the Instagram story. Why is that the way it goes? I couldn't fucking tell you. At the Ross Bolen Podcast on Instagram. Check it out. We're on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod, and you can also find us on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast, regardless of your age, believe it or not. I'm Ross Bolen, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WRBOLEN, at WR Bolen. My first name is William, if you thought the W stood for Weenus. It doesn't. It stands for William Ross Bolen. That's my full name, believe it or not. W.R. Bolen. Just kidding. Don't ever say that. At W.R. Bolen, though, is my social media name, though. You asked me the other day if anybody ever calls me W.R. There was one breathing, living human that did. I will never see him again, unfortunately, most likely. He was a connection from a past relationship. And he called me R.W.
Okay. Why?
Didn't care enough to know.
No?
Just
reminded you of somebody.
It's like if you walked up to somebody and you were like, "You're not that important to me."
Yeah, I'm gonna call you a name that
Like,
nobody's ever called you before.
Here's
and has
how
no correlation.
Here's
to your
how
life.
little I give a shit. I've got the 2 letters. I'm gonna reverse them.
That's like the guy in the movie. That's like the guy's talking. And he's like, "Jim, can I call you Jim? I'm gonna call you Jim," and he just keeps rolling.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're just
except
always
if you
Jim.
never even asked. If
Yeah.
you were just like, RW, what's up, man? And I was like, oh, that's not my fucking name. And then that happened for years. Imagine that.
Did you ever say anything?
What are you going to say, man? He's like 65 years old.
No,
This
okay.
dude was worth like $200 million. It wasn't even worth it. Like,
Yeah.
he did not give a shit.
Yeah.
I would have gone, oh, hey, Bill, it's a... By the way, he was a Bill, too, which makes it even worse. He's a Bill disrespecting another Bill. Sir, we have the same first name. What the fuck is RW?
Maybe he was relegating your first name to your middle name so that he could be the alpha.
Look, that is one of the great power moves. To mislabel a person is one of the great dickhead power moves.
Yeah, dickhead
To
power
give
moves.
them the wrong name or label is one of the most fucking condescending things you can do to a human being.
Absolutely.
Feels terrible every time, and the correction doesn't give me what I need, which is for you to fuck off and die. Person who... No, but this guy was awesome, just for the record. Now I'm scared like he could be... I love you, man. You were hilarious. You just never got my name right. So it was funny to me. We can absolutely kick it if you want. Anytime. Hey, this is weird now. Now I'm just talking to you. It's just you and me.
This is very intimate. I feel like I should leave the room.
Chris, where do you have social mediums that people can follow?
You can follow me on Omegle. No, I'm just kidding. You can follow me on Twitter at Q0ULS. You can follow me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. And you can follow me on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
All right, well, I'm going to head out and hit the chat roulette for the rest of the day. If anybody wants to hop on there and see if you can find some dong hanging with me.
That's what I've been doing for the last 30 minutes.
To be clear, not my dong, but dongs, like in the grand search for dongs that is this life. I'll be on there on chat roulette. I'll also be on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles talking about Lovecraft Country's final 2 episodes later today. What else? We're talking about Yellowstone soon. I've been watching a bunch of other really random shows. The Third Day on HBO, phenomenal show. Started The Vow on HBO, crazy documentary. Started Bly Manor on Netflix. Fun. Enjoying. We'll discuss all of them on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, our television and film podcast here at Bolen Media. You can find it wherever you listen to RBP. And that will do it for RBP 342, produced by Myrriah Gossett and Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. Chris and I will be back on Monday with RBP 343. And, of course, before that, we will return Friday, ad-free, exclusively on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. If you want to support this show, With a direct financial contribution, a minimum pledge of just $5 a month will get you an additional episode every Friday, ad-free, premium, exclusive shit right there on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. We obviously do video of all those episodes as well. They're available on Patreon. And again, if you want to watch this show, not just listen, youtube.com/Bolen Media. You can find every episode of both RBP and OCC, and that is not featured on Patreon anyway. Patreon, again, exclusive shit. Exclusive shit! 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 Can we get a soundboard with one of those old, just like late 90s, early 2000s DJ things? Like, yes, the high porn, obviously. But I want the ability to go, exclusive shit! 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 And it just fades away like a DJ would. Just an open request to
probably
record.
An app for that.
Almost surely is.
We could make our own soundboard with a bunch of RBP sounds. That'd be hilarious.
Anyway, go to patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more RBP, just a minimum of $5 monthly. We love y'all. Thank you so much for your support. You are not alone. Podmen, get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Peace be with you.
And also with you.